Hello and welcome back to Friday Reads, where we help you find your next read. I'm Jill.
And I'm Julie, and you may think with Valentine's week coming that we do romance, but we're switching it up. We're doing library lovers because February is Library Lovers Month. So we are in our Libraries Rocks t-shirts, and I'm going to turn it over to Jill for her first pick.
So my first one is a teen novel. It's the first one in a series, Ink and Bone by Rachel Kane. This is the Great Library series. In this book, the Great Library of Alexandria did not burn, and books are the heroes, so that's fun. Ruthless and supremely powerful, the Great Library is now a presence in every major city, governing the flow of knowledge to the masses. Alchemy allows the library to deliver the content to the greatest works of history instantly, but the personal ownership of books is forbidden. Jess Brightwell believes in the value of the library, but the majority of his knowledge comes from illegal books obtained by his family, who are involved in the thriving black market. Jess has been sent to be his family's spy, but his loyalties are tested in the final months of his training to enter the library's service. When his friend inadvertently commits heresy by creating a device that could change the world, Jess discovers that those who control the Great Library believe that knowledge is more valuable than any human life, and soon both heretics and books will burn. So, yeah. Illegal to own books. That would be weird.
Oh my goodness. My first pick is probably an author that's familiar to a lot of people. It's No Offense, a novel by Meg Cabot. This was published back in 2020. A broken engagement only gave Molly Montgomery additional incentive to follow her dream job from the Colorado Rockies to the Florida Keys. Sounds good to be in the Keys right about now.
Yes.
Now, as the Little Bridge Island Public Library's head of children's services, Molly hopes the messiest thing in her life will be her sticky note covered desk. But fate, in the form of a newborn left in the restroom, has other ideas. So does the sheriff who comes to investigate this abandonment. The man's arrogance is almost as distracting as his blue eyes. Almost. Recently divorced, John has been having trouble adjusting to single life as well as single parenthood. But something in Molly's beautiful smile gives John hope that his old life on Little Bridge might suddenly hold new promise, if only they can get over their differences. This book is actually part of a series. It's the Little Bridge Island series, which begins with Bridal Boot Camp, followed by No Judgments, and then this book, No Offense. There they are over her library desk.
I like that author. Such a fun stories from her. Okay, this one's called Close Enough to Touch by Colleen Oakley. Can you miss something you never had? Jubilee Jenkins is no ordinary librarian. With a rare allergy to human touch, any skin-to-skin contact could literally kill her.
Oh my.
I wonder how they found that out. But after retreating into solitude for nearly 10 years, Jubilee's decide to brave the world again despite the risk. Armed with a pair of gloves, long sleeves, and her trusty bicycle, she finally ventures out the front door and into her future. Eric Keegan has troubles of his own, with his daughter from a failed marriage no longer speaking to him, and his brilliant, if psychologically troubled, adopted son attempting telekinesis. Eric's struggling to figure out how his life got so off course and how to be a dad and the man he wants so desperately to be. So when an encounter over the checkout desk at the local library entangles his life with that of the beautiful, albeit eccentric woman, he finds himself wanting nothing more than to be near her. But he can't touch her.
Oh, goodness.
Love that concept.
My next pick is a nonfiction pick. This is Syria's Secret Library, Reading and Redemption in a Town Under Siege. This is by Mike Thompson and was published back in 2019. It's the remarkable story of a small makeshift library and the people who found hope and humanity in its books during a 4-year siege. Daraya, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, lives on the fringe of Damascus, just southwest of the Syrian capital. Yet for 4 years it lived in another world. Besieged by government forces early in the Syrian civil war, its people were deprived of food, bombarded by heavy artillery, and under the constant fire of snipers. But deep beneath the scene of frightening devastation lay a hidden library. While the streets above echoed with shelling and rifle fire, the secret world below was a haven of books. Long walls of well-thumbed volumes lined almost every wall, bloated editions with grand leather covers, pocket-sized guides to Syrian poetry, and no-nonsense reference books, all arranged in well-ordered lines. But this precious hoard was not bought from publishers or loaned by other libraries. They were the books salvaged and scavenged at great personal risk from the doomed city lying above. The story of this extraordinary place and the people who found purpose and refuge is one of hope, human resilience, and above all, the timeless universal love of literature and the compassion and wisdom it fosters. So, Syria's Secret Library, Reading and Redemption in a Town Under Siege.
Yeah. My next one is another book in a series. It's the first one. It's called The Book Charmer. It is by Karen Hawkins. Sarah Dove is no ordinary bookworm. To her, books have always been more than just objects. They live, they breathe, and sometimes they even speak. When Sarah grows up to become a librarian in her quaint southern town of Dove Pond, her gift helps place every book in the hands of the perfect reader. Recently, however, the books have been whispering about something out of the ordinary, the arrival of a displaced city girl named Grace Wheeler. If the books are right, which is strange to think, Grace would be the savior that Dove Pond desperately needs. The problem is Grace wants little to do with the town or its quirky residents, Sarah chief among them. It takes a bit of urging and the help of an especially wise book, but Grace ultimately embraces the challenge to rescue her charmed new community. In her quest, she discovers the tantalizing promise of a new love, the deep strength that comes from having one true friend, and a power of finding just the right book. So, yeah, those wise books.
My next pick is a YA pick, and this is The Librarian of Auschwitz by Antonio Iturbe, published in 2017. And it's based on the experience of real-life Auschwitz prisoner Dita Kraus, and it's the incredible story of a girl who risked her life to keep the magic of books alive during the Holocaust. 14-year-old Dita is one of the many imprisoned by the Nazis at Auschwitz. Taken along with her mother and father from the Terezin ghetto in Prague, Dita is adjusting to the constant terror that is life in the camp. When Jewish leader Freddie Hirsch asks Dita to take charge of the 8 precious volumes the prisoners have managed to sneak past the guards, she agrees. And so Dita becomes the librarian of Auschwitz. Out of one of the darkest chapters of human history comes this extraordinary storage of courage and hope. If you're further interested in reading more about Dita, we also have in the InfoSoup catalog a book called A Delayed Life. This was published in 2020, and she writes unflinchingly about the harsh conditions of the camps and her role as librarian of those precious books that her fellow prisoners managed to smuggle past the guards. But she also looks past the Holocaust to the life she rebuilt after the war, her marriage to fellow survivor Otto Kraus, a new life in Israel, and the happiness and heartbreaks of motherhood. Part of Dita's story was told in this, The Librarian of Auschwitz, but her memoir tells the full story in her own words, so you might want to check out that book.
I read The Librarian of Auschwitz. It is very weird to think 8 books.
I know, and what they risked.
Yes.
I know.
Like they're hiding them and they have no clothes hardly, It's crazy. Crazy. Good recommendation. My next one is The Librarian of Boones Hollow by Kim Vogel Sawyer. This is kind of a historical novel. During the Great Depression, Addie Cowherd dreams of being a novelist and offering readers the escape that books gave her during her tragic childhood. When her adopted father loses his job, she is forced to leave college and take the only employment she can find, delivering books on horseback to poor coal mining families in the hills of Kentucky. The small community of Boones Hollow is suspicious of outsiders and steeped in superstitions that leave Addie feeling rejected and indignant. Although she finds an unexpected friend in an elderly outcast, and other horseback librarians scorn her determination to befriend Nanny Faye. Emmett Tharp grew up in a tiny mountain hamlet where most men either work in the coal mine or run moonshine. He's the first in the community to earn a college degree, and he has big dreams, but witnesses the depression robbing many young men of their future. Then someone sets out to sabotage the library program, going so far as to destroy Addie's novel in progress. Will the saboteur chase Addie and the other librarians away, or will they emerge victorious over prejudice? Is Emmett the local ally that Addie needs, or might their friendship lead to something more? Inspired by the real WPA program that sent librarians on horseback to deliver books to hill families in Kentucky, Kim Vogel Sawyer immersed herself in the Appalachian history to tell this captivating story. So there are other books about the horseback librarians.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one I'm recommending today.
All right, my fourth pick is a little different. This is Weather by Jenny Offel, published in 2020. Lizzie Benson slid into her job as a librarian without a traditional degree, but this gives her a vantage point from which to practice her calling. She's sort of a fake shrink. For years, she has tended to her God-haunted mother and her recovering addict brother. They have both stabilized for the moment, but Lizzie has little chance to spend her new free time with husband and son before her old mentor Sylvia makes her a proposal. She's become famous for her podcast, Hell and High Water, and she wants to hire Lizzie to answer the mail she receives, from left-wingers worried about climate change and right-wingers worried about the decline of Western civilization. As Lizzie dives into this polarized world, she begins to wonder what it means to keep tending your own garden once you've seen the flames beyond its walls. When her brother becomes a father and Sylvia a recluse, Lizzie is forced to address the limits of her own experience, but still, she's trying to save everyone, using everything she's learned about empathy and despair, conscience and collusion from her years of wandering amongst those library stacks, and all the while the voices of the city keep floating in. It's funny, disturbing, and increasingly mad. So this one sounded kind of odd, but kind of intriguing to me.
So my last pick today is What You Wish For by Catherine Center. I have recommended this author before with Things You Save in a Fire during the Fire Week. So all her covers are kind of fun like this. Samantha Casey is a school librarian who loves her job, the kids, and her school family with passion and joy for living. But she wasn't always that way. Duncan Carpenter is the new school principal who lives by the rules and regulations, guided by the knowledge that bad things can happen, but he wasn't always that way. And Sam knows it because she knew him before at another school in a different life. Back then she loved him, but she was invisible to him, to everyone, even to herself. She escaped to a new school, a new job, a new chance at living. But when Duncan, of all people, gets hired as a new principal there, it feels like the best thing that could possibly happen at the school and the worst thing that could possibly happen to Sam, until the opposite turns out to be true. The lovable Duncan she'd known is now a suit and tie wearing, rule enforced, tough as guy as hell, bent on protecting the school that he's willing to destroy it. As the school community spirals into chaos, the danger from all corners looms large. Sam and Duncan must find their way to who they really are, what it means to be brave, and how to take a chance on love. So, yeah, a love story in the stacks.
All right, we go from a love story to murder. So I couldn't resist. This one is Past Due for Murder, a Blue Ridge Library mystery by Victoria Gilbert, published in 2019. Spring has sprung in quaint Taylorsburg, Virginia, and the mayor has revived the town's long-defunct May Day celebration to boost tourism. As part of the festivities, library director Amy Weber is helping to organize a research project and a presentation by a local folklore expert. All seems well, but spring takes on a sudden chill when a university student inexplicably vanishes during a bonfire. The local police cast a wide net to find the missing woman, but in a shocking turn of events, Amy's swoon-worthy neighbor, Richard, becomes a person of interest in the case. Not only is Richard the woman's dance instructor, he also doesn't have an alibi for the night the student vanished, or at least not one he'll divulge even to Amy. When the missing student is finally discovered lost in the mountains with no memory of recent events, and a dead body is lying nearby, an already disturbing mystery takes on a sinister new hue. This book is blessed with her innate curiosity and a librarian's gift for research. Amy may be the only one who can learn the truth in this story. This is actually the third book in the Blue Ridge Library's mystery series. That series begins with a murder for the books and shelved under murder. So, couldn't resist.
I love cozy mysteries.
I know, Past Due for Murder.
Well, thanks for watching. We hope you have some new ideas to read. And if you want to show your love for libraries, come in and see us.
Exactly. Share in our comments what you love about the library. We're always happy to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, bye-bye.